is like the new Shen Fiora, where like this is just the deck that's been around forever. It's
Yeah.
got pretty solid matchups. It's not the flashiest deck in the world, and I mean, Fiora got nerfed to let Shurima have some breathing room. I don't think Draven Ezreal is like hard holding anything down because even the good matchups that it has, we're still seeing in tournaments, we're still seeing in finals and things like that.
Yep. Well, starting off with the Nightfall deck with one of my favorite cards in the game, the Flight. Getting that 2 quick damage in with the draw and shuffling it back in. So, and actually, not for nothing, but MaykaS does not have many cards to actually combat an early aggressive start here from Pedro. We're not going to be able to stick anything significant until turn 4 and make that turn 3. We got a Laurent off the top.
And that Laurent Shen combo, I feel, is actually going to be pretty impactful in taking out some of the more certified threats like the GOAT and these little guys, just kind of making sure that the board remains under control. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the 3 attack that we need to take out Crescent Guardians or the Shade Stalkers or any of these other things. But ultimately, the hand of Pedro is looking a little weak right now in terms of just sort of like what we have available. But because we have so many elusives, and no sharp sight on the side of MaykaS, maybe we can just push through enough damage, get all that chip in, and then eventually finish it off with just a big swing from like one overwhelm unit, and then finish it off with a Doom Beast, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, this deck can go pretty wide with elusive units depending on its draws. I mean, we already have a couple flights that we're able to utilize here. We also have a Fading Memories in hand, if that's the route that we want to go. But I do imagine, like you mentioned, the Shen Laurent combo, we're going to actually... Did we just pass the attack token?
Yeah, we didn't want to give any further development over to Pedro of any 2 HP units. And, like you could have tried to pick off this Shade Stalker over the course of a couple of turns, but instead we get the very timely top deck with the Screeching Dragon. But we're just going to pass on the side of MaykaS, wait for Pedro to actually go to combat because we know that there's no way they're not attacking when they have the Flight on field.
I'm still a little curious as to that pass there. I mean, I definitely get it. I understand it, but...
I'm actually a little surprised by the Screeching Dragon, unless... I thought we would Brightsteel Protector the Shen to have a super effective blocker for this Crescent Guardian.
Yeah, now the Crescent Guardian is actually going to take out either the Shen or the Screeching Dragon, unless you just take
I would
5
imagine...
to the face.
I don't think that MaykaS can afford to just take the damage from this Crescent Guardian. I would imagine we are going to block it, and the Pale Cascade's going to come out, and then Jarvan's going to get to kill it on the following turn. But yeah, this elusive damage is really adding up very quickly.
Yeah, that's 6 more coming in. Yeah, that Screeching Dragon, I got to agree. Brightsteel Protector seems like it would have been a much better play here, just completely shutting down this attack. And now because of that, the Screeching Dragon isn't going to be able to pick off multiple units. So you could have picked off 2 elusive units next turn. Now we're only going to grab 1.
Yeah, although, we have MaykaS has to read on the Pale. And I think that's why we sacked the Screeching Dragon rather than the Shen. And we get the Sharp Sight finally. It's not too late for the Sharp Sight to have a big impact, but there's so many flights within the top of Pedro's deck. We've had so many elusive ones, thrown back in there.
Yeah, and Jarvan, again, coming out on turn 6, baby. So this is actually going to do a lot of work to suddenly put MaykaS very much seemingly in the lead anyways. But again, Pedro's basically just like, I don't know, 1 copy Doom Beast away from being able to win the game. So
I don't know if Pedro can draw Doom Beast. I'm pretty sure like the top 3 cards of our deck are all flights at this point.
Yeah.
I haven't really... I don't know how many we have in circulation. I know there have been a couple of ephemerals that have been thrown in there. It might only be 3, but I'm kind of curious whether or not we're going to like proactively Pale Cascade combat to try and find more flight.
I 100% think that's the route Pedro's going, and if that's the case, I absolutely love how he's playing this. If we know that there's flights, it doesn't look like he's doing it. I would have loved to have seen that because it represents almost lethal too. This is so weird.
I don't hate this just because we have so many blockers, and MaykaS isn't representing keywords like Overwhelm or Scout that really let him push through a wide board. So we can just, throw out all these little dinky guys. The one thing we do have to be really concerned about on the side of Pedro, though, is a rally. A rally would just let you push through this board one time and then go in for a second attack. So if MaykaS can find a Golden Aegis off the top, that should just be the end of the game.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Golden Aegis. I mean, we just saw it basically end Deech's run, right? So Golden Aegis is definitely a card that we have to go ahead and be concerned about whenever we're going up against Shen J4. I mean, we're seeing Shen J4 a lot more than we have earlier in the tournament, but it is seemingly doing a pretty good job of just picking up wins where I mean, it doesn't seem like they're really going to be capable of doing so for the first few turns, and then they'd come out with a board like this suddenly thanks to Jarvan on turn 6. So
I don't know why Pedro isn't putting down more units.
Yeah, as blockers, because right now we have enough challengers to pull things off to the side.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we gave MaykaS the ability to keep 2 units up on us, and we might actually find like a sharp sight stand united lethal unless Pedro continues to go wide here. Like, I don't think we need to hang on to the Solari soldier. Yeah, throw that down. Okay. We've got so many spells in hand for Nightfall activation.
Yeah, 3 Dust Petals here. Mountain Goat is another good blocker, but I imagine we just get an open attack here. Stand United could be a thing too, because I'm pretty sure Shen will level up with only
Stand
one more
United
barrier.
is lethal.
Yeah,
it'll put the Green Glade Caretaker at 11.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no way for Pedro to deal with that. So I think that's just going to be game. This Nightfall deck. I think Pedro, honestly, I think Pedro had it on the turn we were talking about the Pale Cascade to draw those flights. We saw after the draws it was a flight and a Diana. We would have gotten another flight drawn. We would have had 2-3-2 flights and then a 2-1 flight. That's 8 damage.
Yeah, but there's a sharp sight in MaykaS Sand.
Was that there 2 turns ago?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It was there on the Pale Cascade turn.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But now it looks like, whatever doesn't get blocked just gets swapped with this cute little Green Glade Caretaker, and that'll take it home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up here. So, unfortunately, the first time, really, I think this is the first time we've seen Nightfall today, Boulevard? And yesterday.
Yeah, I know that Zinc has been saying that he's been laddering with this for its good Azir Irelia matchup.
Yeah, yep. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get it done here. Yep, there it is. The Stand United that we've seen, honestly, win so many games in the past, too. Just completely surprising people. And not only winning the game, but 16 damage, baby. That is a big old Green Glade Caretaker coming in to do lethal here. Got to draw a couple cards.
Pale into a flight. Pale number 2. What can you get us? There's nothing that can find lethal here.
No.
Especially through the Deny and Nopify that MaykaS still has available.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because generally when we see Nightfall do well, it's because it's doing things like Stalking Shadows into Doom Beast. And we just never really got, I don't think we got any Stalking Shadows there, right?
We got one on a flight. We didn't get any Unto Dust. We didn't get any Doom Beast. Funny enough, there's actually only one Lunari Shadestalker in this deck, so we had like the full elusive train that we were hoping for in the early game. But this was expected from Pedro. I believe that the Frostbite midrange is something that we're going to look to 2-0 here.
All right, well, here we go. We're actually going to swap it on over to Azir Irelia. First time we're getting it in the top cut. It seems like most of the Azir Irelias lost in the round of 8, the top 8 there. But we did get one in the finals here, so we'll see how it does. We do have Irelia in the first hand. And this I don't want to say new, but it basically might as well be new Voice of the Risen.
Yeah.
And honestly, Irelia on turn 3, maybe we do get a pretty quickly leveled Irelia here, and Voice of the Risen actually does a lot of work.
I am concerned for MaykaS, because when you take a step back and you look at Pedro's lineup, which is Azir Irelia, Nightfall, and Draven Ezreal, that looks like an anti-Frostbite mid-range lineup.
Oh, yeah, and then this start, too, from MaykaS, we have nothing to throw down yet. We're going to have what looks to be a LeBlanc coming down. That's a terrible blocker. We have double Sparring Student now for Pedro, not to mention going into a turn 3, next turn probably is when we're going to play it, but the Irelia, that's insane. And are we going to Homecoming? I think we're just going to rip the Homecoming here, because why not? It's Dancing Droplet. We'll get some draw. We get the Attune. Let's just do it. And they are going to get the Culling Strike in response, though. But that does save a future Culling Strike on something like an Irelia or Azir. So I do think that's a big deal for Pedro.
Yeah, it also taps MaykaS down below mana for the Reckoning.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a lot of damage this turn. Those Sparring Students are going to get up there. It's going to be 4/4s coming in. We can go ahead and block one of these blades and then block one of the Sparring Students. But losing your LeBlanc or your Ashe really isn't what you were looking to do with the turn. And because we have to play Ashe as our other blocker, we still aren't going to have Reckoning mana on the following turn.
I like when aggro players take a couple extra seconds to make a decision as if they were going to do anything different than the obvious play in their hand anyways.
I've heard you give Dyna guff before. Don't you say that. I like when aggro players play Southern. Stop. Ease up off Doom Beast Dyna.
Hey, I love Dyna. I'm just saying, like, sometimes with an aggro deck, like, it just is what it is. Just play the damage, man. Just play it out. But yeah, here's those 4/4s you're talking about. Not to mention the quick attack on the Irelia. And it looks like we are going to risk it and take all of the damage to the face. I think this is going to be a Reckoning if that's the case. Oh no, we're still one short this turn. That is not good. This is very risky from MaykaS. I mean, we could throw down an Avarosian after this. Hearthguard. That'll give us another really beefy blocker, but... And honestly, I'm not going to lie. There's not crazy good things out of Pedro here. We do have this Ancient Preparations to kind of set things up. Blossom and Blade, not bad. Azir probably seems like a good one, but Dunekeeper actually doesn't seem half bad either. Let's see what he picked in just a second. Who would you pick, Azir or Dunekeeper there?
I think Azir is pretty important, and I think I'm wide enough on board. Like, I'd like to be able to throw down my Voices this turn and then throw down my Azir next turn. I don't think I've really got the board space to play with a Dunekeeper anymore.
Yeah, and actually, Irelia...
Azir's probably close to leveled, or will level off of the Blades on the following turn.
8, 9. So Irelia will level after her Flawless Duet, and then on the attack she'll level.
Yeah, whereas Azir will level... like sort of pre-combat, like you play Azir, you play the Blades, and that gets Azir to the level up.
Yeah, yep.
Which is actually really good because that means the Voices of the Risen will proc while the Blades are in combat, which is exactly what you want. But in that case, there's a Reckoning in MaykaS' hand that we don't have an answer for.
Yeah, and we have to open attack, and we're probably not going to. We're probably going to do the Flawless Duet.
Well, it looks like we went for the Dunekeeper, actually.
Yeah, see, I was thinking possibly the Dunekeeper just to potentially buff up these sparring students.
Well, that doesn't work because your board's full.
Yeah,
which is why
preparations. Yeah,
which is why I was kind of confused about the Dunekeeper grab.
It's one of the reasons I'm not crazy about Ancient Preparations in this deck. It just takes up a spot on the board.
That takes up a spot for like a turn.
Yeah, but So we're gonna block these, and I think if Reckoning gets played, it's just a blowout.
Yeah. It's not like Pedro plays Deny. We could, like, the scariest thing I think is Shapestone to save one of these units, but that's not going to happen. And this could just be the turnaround and a very quick 2-0 for MaykaS.
Wow. And now suddenly you don't want that Dunekeeper. You definitely want the Azir. This feels really terrible now for Pedro here. This is going to be rough. I mean, we do still have a okay attack. I don't know.
I don't know if okay is the word I would use because this we just get to block both of these for free.
Yeah. I mean, we put more damage on, so it's gonna like maybe make us not want to attack with the Ash, possibly, just to risk it.
We've got a mirror image, so we can just get 2 Ashes.
And actually, we do have Blossoming Blade. Oh man. So
I think that it's like mirror image, draw 4 cards with Trifarian Assessor.
Yeah.
At which point you'll probably have even with just the Troll Chance and the LeBlanc Sigil of Malice in hand, we probably have enough to survive the following turn.
And if Pedro could live one more turn, actually, because of the Sigil of Malice just straight up takes out the Green Glade duo here. So we actually wouldn't even be able to rely on that next turn. And at 1 cost too. So yep, there's the Blossoming Blade just for the sake of basically presenting a blocker. Does push through a little bit more damage. Everything at 1 health too. Jesus.
Oh, we're actually just this doesn't do anything. We're only at 1 out of 5 on the Ash, so we're not
leveling.
Yeah, we're not leveling and actually winning the game. Actually, we are winning the game because we just got to blow out a blocker with the Sigil of Malice, and that means 10 damage is going to be coming through. And MaykaS, the one Sultan not to fall in top 8, does eventually go all the way, taking out the one non-Brazilian Jason Florent, then taking out 2 Hydras in Deech and Pedro. And despite going up against what looked like a pretty good lineup into that remaining Frostbite mid-range, MaykaS the Master takes it home.